Hi, my name is Heidi Totten, Marketing Director at Wisdom Window, and I'm so excited today to have Bob Nicoll, who is fresh from Real Salt Lake City Stadium, correct?
Rio Tinto Stadium, World Cup match, and although we slipped in the back door, we are playing in the final 16. So
Awesome,
good for
awesome.
USA.
Well, I've been kind of trying to watch, but I've been busy working too. So one of the things that's really exciting for me personally is that as I was doing some research on Bob for our discussion and watching his videos, he mentioned a key word from my past, well, a key address from my past, and he talked about when he was in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, he lived at 12th Street and Northern in Phoenix, and my first job as a hostess was at Carlos O'Brien's Mexican restaurant, and it's still my favorite restaurant. I go there every time.
Hey, whenever I get a chance, I always network for places. If you're in the Phoenix area, go to Carlos O'Brien's. You will be very happy you did. It's excellent food and a great experience.
It is. It's wonderful. And whenever I meet friends from high school, whenever we have reunion dinners, that's where we go.
It's a great place.
Yes.
A lot of fun.
So Bob is a speaker, a trainer, a coach, and a world-renowned wordsmith. And I actually had to practice saying those words because it's kind of a tongue twister. And I'm going to let him explain what being a word nerd. A word nerd, a wordsmith. I'm going to let him explain what a word nerd entails. And so I'm going to just turn it over to you.
Thank you, Heidi. It's a pleasure to be on here. And again, it's all about networking. If this is your first visit to Wisdom Window, make sure that you have many more visits after this. Wisdom Window is a very powerful concept, allowing people who have powerful messages like myself to get a chance to share those. So I really appreciate the opportunity of being on Wisdom Window. Okay, so yes, I'm a self-prescribed or self-proclaimed word nerd. Here's a little bit of my background. I have a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. I have a Master of Arts in Counseling. I've done postgraduate training at the University of Kentucky Medical School in the outpatient psychiatric clinic with a world-renowned psychiatrist named Dr. Maxie C. Maltzby Jr. He developed and added to Dr. Albert Ellis's rational emotive therapy, added some content, and it became rational behavior therapy. I'm certified in that training. I also worked with Tony Robbins in neuroassociative conditioning systems. I'm a word nerd. That's what I do. I'm very, very passionate about word choice and the juxtaposition of words. And if I can, I'll go ahead and just jumpstart this conversation with the story behind Remember the Ice. So here we go. Very simply, I lived at 12th and Northern. Actually, it was 13th, just up the block. And across the street from my apartment, Heidi, was a convenience store. Well, when you walked into the convenience store, up above the cash registers, there were a couple of signs. Well, here's an example of, here's what the word choice was on that sign.
Don't forget the ice.
Okay, so I walked in. My friend Rick was the manager working that day. And I said, Rick, how are your ice sales? And he said, Bob, they're terrible. Really? Terrible? Phoenix, Arizona? Oh, by the way, the date of this experience was July the 23rd, 1991. It was a Tuesday. It was already 110 degrees in the shade at 10:07 in the morning. Come on, ice? Really? Okay, so we'll pick up the story. So I asked him about how his ice sales are. He tells me they're terrible. I say, Rick, I can help you out. So I pen a new sign. Here's the words that were on that sign.
Remember the ice.
Exactly. All I did was change 2 words.
Right.
Here's what happened. We chit-chatted for another couple moments, and then I left the store. When I came back about a month later, he did one of these. Banging on the window. You, come here. So I come running across the street from my apartment, and now we're standing outside the store in front of the ice box where the bags of ice are kept. He looked at me and he said, what did you do? I am selling ice like crazy. I said, well, Rick, let me explain it this way. Now let me ask the audience. If I say to you right now, don't think of the color blue, what color did you just now think of?
Blue.
That's what I thought I heard.
Yeah.
And I heard that from a couple other people.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. That's what he said. And then I asked him a very simple question. I said, Rick, when your customers used to look at this sign that told them, don't forget the ice, what were you actually telling them to forget?
The ice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, what he was unaware of, and what I knew, because I was across the street with binoculars watching, I would see people park in front of the ice chest, or the ice chest, the big machine outside, go in, purchase beverages, sodas, beer on the weekend, what have you, come out, put those beverages into coolers in the back of their truck or the trunk of their car, and go up to the corner of 12th and Northern where the AM/PM gas station is, right across from Carlos O'Brien's, and they'd buy their ice there. Seriously. Really?
Really?
Yeah, they did. So the good news for Rick was this. Remember, this is the old sign that was there. Now there's a new sign that says, remember the ice. So here's what happened after we had changed the sign for that month while I was away. People would come into the store. So here's the best part, Heidi. Nobody ever said a word about the new sign.
Really?
And he never stopped and said, like if you were going, oh, Heidi, did you see my new sign? He never did that. Matter of fact, he never told his employees. That was a small store, maybe 5 or 6 people. Here's the bottom line. People would come up to the counter, look up, see this message and go, hey, can you give me a couple of bags of ice on the way out the door? Sales shot up 500%.
Wow.
In 30 days. Now here's a question. If you're a business owner, if you're someone that has a business and you work for a company or you're in sales, here's the question. How many of you would enjoy having a 500% increase in your business in 30 days? Oh, I saw lots of hands go up.
Absolutely.
Here's the next question. How many of you could handle it in the next 30 days? Which is another question. So if you know a good business coach, or maybe there's a business coach on Wisdom Window, you might want to check out and see what they have that they could offer you and help in business. I am a wordsmith. I'm a reframer. You know how you have a person builds a foundation. When you build a house, you have the architect, you have the plans, and you have the good carpenters, and you have the framers. They're the guys or gals that put the house together. Well, I am a reframer with word choice. I help people construct a better sentence. So, took a little liberty with the story. Let me wrap it up. So his sales increased 500%. Bottom line is this. If you raise your awareness to the words that you use when you're sharing your message, you'll be surprised what the result will be. His sales shot up over 500% in 30 days, and then it just continued on. The store has now been taken over by another business, so when I've gone back to Phoenix, unfortunately, Rick, I have no idea where Rick is. All I can say is thank you, Rick, for the opportunity to create a very powerful message. So that's the initial story to remember the ice. And everything that I teach, when I say everything, I mean everything that I teach comes from that story. And this 9-word phrase, it's the first sentence of the first chapter in my book, Remember the Ice and Other Paradigm Shifts. Here's the sentence. There is power in the clarity of your articulation.
So this morning I woke up, and I kid you not, I didn't even, this was, morning fog, and I didn't even make the connection of this until I got here. Okay. But this morning I was laying in bed and I was thinking, what do I really want? What is it that I really want? Okay. Because I think that business owners in particular struggle with what they really want, and they focus so much on what they don't want.
Exactly.
And so as I'm sitting here listening to you, and as I was watching your videos this morning, I was thinking, clarity, that's what I really want. I want clarity. So I can see how this would apply to so many different areas, business, yes, relationships, parenting. And I want you to talk about, some of the things you've seen and the ways that as people have changed their message,
absolutely,
the difference that it's made.
I have a number of examples. Here's one of my favorite. This happens to be the brochure of a friend of mine who lives in the Netherlands, and the company is up here at the top. It's Flakka Cruising, and these are beautiful sailing gullet yachts on the Mediterranean Sea. How romantic, unbelievable. Cruising on the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Bodrum, Turkey, and the whole idea behind these cruises is those 2 words at the bottom. What does it say?
Absolute freedom.
Absolute freedom. So just imagine being detached, if you will, from electronic devices. You're detached from the news. You just have complete freedom. Well, here's the story behind and how this concept of Remember the Ice, as simple as it sounds, I describe it as one of the simplest, most complex messages you'll ever learn. Now, wait a minute. How can something be simple and complex at the same time? Pretty easy.
Yes.
Here's the story. My friend Cornelis from the Netherlands contacted me back in October of 2008, just as my first book was coming out. He read about me on a website. He was searching for people. This was a business networking website. And he was searching kind of a lot like Wisdom Window. Okay? Get on Wisdom Window. Get wisdom. And he was searching for someone that could help him with positive word choice. So when he typed that into the search window, guess who popped up? That would be me.
The word nerd.
The word nerd. The word nerd popped out of the hole, and here I am. He read my story. He took it to heart and immediately went to his website. He reached out to me on Skype. I'm in Alaska. He's in the Netherlands. There's 10 hours time difference. He reaches out to me. He said, and sent me a quick message. Bob, I'm Cornelis. I'm from the Netherlands. I love your stuff. It's really impacted me. Can you have a conversation? Of course I can. Any time of day. So we start a conversation. 2 hours later, he shared with me an awful lot of information about how we need to bring this message to Europe. And the main thing he talked about was how he took the concept of Remember the Eyes, changing a couple of words on his website. Here's an interesting way that he described his website content prior to meeting me, or once he heard about me and then said, oh my gosh, I have poisonous words on my website.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty strong. Okay, so here's what it used to say on his website. It used to say, don't forget to book early.
Mm.
Well, we changed the wording. What does it read right there?
Remember to book early.
Remember to book early. See it right on the back. Remember to book early. So here's a quick synopsis of what happened. October 2008, we meet. January the 26th, 2009, he calls me up and he said, Bob, I got some great news. I said, what's that? He said, I've already booked 60% of my season in January.
Wow.
I said, wow, that seems pretty high. Cornelis, have you ever done that before? Never. Most I've ever done in the past was about 15%. So he's already quadrupled by changing 2 words. Oh, it gets, wait, there's more. February, around Valentine's Day, calls me up again. Bob, I'm at 85%. By this time, we put together this trip, this sojourn that I'm going to take over to Europe. I ended up going through 11 countries in 47 days, spent a week with Cornelis in the Netherlands.
I want to take that trip.
It's an awesome trip, believe me. And by the time I landed at Schiphol Airport on May the 4th, he was already at 105% of his season, added 2 other ships from other companies to help take care of it. He tripled his business in 2009. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a recession going on in 2009.
Exactly.
Globally. So I say to you, and I'll remind this again, Heidi, I said this is the simplest, most complex message you'll ever hear. Now, on the surface, it's, okay, Bob, you're just telling me to use good words. You're just telling me to be positive and to not be negative. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
No. What I'm telling you is be empowering 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. In my world of Remember the Eyes, words like not, don't, can't, won't, wouldn't, couldn't, shouldn't are words that no longer exist. Now, here's the backstory about what I did when I came back the very first time on July the 23rd, 1991. Do you realize that this concept turns 23 in about...
I don't want to think about that. I was working at the Gap in 1991.
Well, this concept for me,
Yeah,
and if you're
23.
familiar with Malcolm Gladwell and his books,
Yes,
wonderful
absolutely.
books, and he talks about the 10,000 hours of practice. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm over 202,000 hours of practice with this concept.
So he's the expert. Listen to him. Word nerd.
and I say that, well, gosh, Bob, if I do the math, it's kind of like you do this in your sleep. Ask
Yes.
my wife, Nancy, I do. I constantly am thinking about this. To me, this concept is as important as breathing.
Mm.
And it's also a concept that follows the moniker. One of my mentors I mentioned earlier was Tony Robbins, and one of his favorite phrases is repetition is the mother of skill. So I believe that whenever there's really great knowledge, I'll go out and borrow it, bring it in, acknowledge who has shared it with me, and then weave it into this concept. So the concept of repetition is the mother of skill, and the practice of breathing. Let me ask you a question. I'll ask if you'll join me in this exercise
absolutely.
real quick. Okay. So generally speaking, how many steps would you say there are in breathing? Kind of.
2.
Yeah, inhale.
In and out.
Okay, so help me out here, okay? So we're going to do this together. So we'll look into the camera. Now, as you're watching the video, I want you to do this as well. Go ahead and take a nice big inhale. Okay, now exhale. Okay, now hold that for about 3 minutes and let me know how that works out. Yeah. Seriously?
Not very
Yeah,
well.
I know. It's going to work out kind of poorly. Now, here's my point. Repetition is the mother of skill. So would it be safe to say, audience, Heidi, that there's actually 3 steps to breathing? You inhale, you exhale, and repeat the process.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So as a result of repeating the process, so here's the thing about Remember the Ice. You've heard the story. I've told this story thousands of times in literally countries all around the world. I've been to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, been to Europe, and Canada, and Thailand, and Taiwan. My first book, Remember the Ice on the Paradigm Shifts, is in the hands of people in 43 countries. If you know anybody in Antarctica, let me know, because I want to send one down there, and then it'll be truly a global
There's some
book.
Penguins that probably aren't forgetting.
Well, there's a couple of folks that they probably love the ice.
Yeah.
So, but again, the concept is simple yet far-reaching. So think of it as an iceberg, if you will. And the story of Remember the Ice is just that little bit that you see above the water. Understanding this concept and actually realizing that words do really mean things. Now, we're broadcasting this from the metropolitan Salt Lake City area, and a very well-known educator and business entrepreneur, Stephen Covey, was from this area.
Yes.
And in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, in chapter 2, Begin with the End in Mind, he shared a very profound statement. Here is his phrase: all things are created twice, first in thought, then manifested in the physical.
Yes.
Whoa, let me think about that for a second. So everything that I do, everything that you do, everything that our family members, anybody, if you can fog a mirror and have a body temperature about 98.6, this applies to you. If you are missing those 2 characteristics, well, I'll just leave it at that. All things, every single thing that you've ever done, ever thought about, ever created, begins with a thought. And thoughts are made up of words. Words are symbols for signs that we understand. Then we take what we think about and we act upon it. Okay, if what you see in this message is don't forget the ice, your brain has no image whatsoever of what the N''T means. So as you read that sign, you are compelled, you are directed, and you will, in fact, forget the ice. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let me interject. If I know, I have people in my life that are, they're kind of the, how do I say this nicely? That's what I'm going for, nicely. They're the, I have to look for everything that could possibly go wrong in a situation. So using those words, do you think that could contribute to actual forgetfulness?
Very possibly. In a lot of the work that Tony Robbins, he learned from Richard Bandler and John Grinder in neurolinguistic programming, and also, he did a lot of training with Jim Rohn, who was phenomenal back in the day. And Tony, he talks, one of the terms, and this is where I got introduced to NLP, was through his book Unlimited Power. And in there he talks about people who are matchers and mismatchers. There are some people who, for whatever reason, believe that they're wired, that if you tell them that it's sunny outside, they'll say, no, there's a 10%, partly cloudy.
Right.
Whatever. They just look, they live their world. If you say it's pink, they say it's blue. Whatever.
What could go wrong?
If you say it's great, they say it's awful. There are people out there who have those characteristics. What I say to anyone who wants to make a shift and a change in their circumstances, that it's going to come down to having a really clearer, different, specific understanding of what it is that they're doing. Okay. Stuart Wilde talks about clarity being very, very important. Clarity is the intent. And clarity, that statement that I said of the first line of my book, there's power in the clarity of your articulation. Those are just 9 words. However, when they are juxtaposed in that sequence, that's a really powerful statement. In addition to understanding that there's power in the clarity of our word choice, I'm going to kind of massage the sentence a little bit, there's also power in the physiology of our articulation. Another term for that, of course, is body language. So let's do this. So I'm gonna pick on someone in the audience. I'm gonna ask you to say to me, okay, so Bob, are you excited about Remember the Ice? Okay, I heard that. Here's my answer. Absolutely. So I'm going to ask someone else, am I excited about Remember the Ice? Absolutely. Heidi asked me if I'm excited about Remember the Ice.
Are you excited about Remember the Ice?
Absolutely.
Yes.
No question.
I believe you.
Yeah. So that's a very simple example of understanding the congruency, because there's power in the clarity of the articulation, there's power in the physiology, and when you take those two components and you bring them together, there's power in the congruency of your message. Body language, if anybody is familiar with NLP and neuroassociative conditioning systems, they break down communication as 55% of it is kinesthetic, 37% is visual, and 8% of the words. Yikes.
I believe that because when people are talking to me and I'm talking to people, I'm looking at their whole process of communication, not just their words. Plus, you hear what you want to hear. You pick up what you want to hear, and your mind starts to process so quickly what they're saying and how it applies to you.
Well, think of this, Heidi. Let's say that you're out purchasing furniture, and you're redecorating a house or a room, and you're making a significant purchase, and the salesman comes up to you or let's role play. I'm the salesperson, and we've finished putting everything together, and you're very excited about it. And so say to me, well, Bob, and by this time we're on first name basis, and so you say, well, ask me, so Bob, is everything's in place, and I'll expect delivery next week. Ask.
So Bob, everything's in place. I'll expect delivery next week.
Oh yeah, we got you covered. Yeah, we're in good shape. Yeah, how do you feel?
I don't think my furniture is going to show up.
So there's question.
Yeah.
And so audience, here, let me ask, have you ever been in a situation where you're talking to someone that's important? Maybe it's a transaction, maybe it's just a family member, or an in-law, an outlaw, a sister, brother, aunt, uncle. It makes no difference who it is. Here's the question. Have you ever asked somebody a question and their response to you is, oh yeah, sure. Yeah, we're good. No, really.
No, really.
Really?
Yeah. No, really. Yeah.
And so what happens is, and please understand, let me just give a disclaimer. Everything that we're talking about today, I would be willing to bet is 99% new. In terms of your awareness being raised. Right. All I did was I took the English language and I did some word surgery on it. Now when I say word surgery, and I neglected to bring my dictionary. I have a dictionary that's coming on 23 years old. And that dictionary, back in July the 23rd, 1991, after I met with Rick at 10:07 in the morning on that Tuesday morning, went back to my apartment, picked up a pair of scissors and my dictionary, and proceeded to perform word surgery on the dictionary. Really? Yeah. Because, I could have just taken a magic marker and just covered the words over. Right. However, they'd still be there. So I said, no, I'm going to take them out. So I took the scissors and literally cut the words out of the dictionary. And here's the words that I cut out. There's 28 of them. Now, am I going to recite all 28? No. You can go to my website, remembertheice.com, look on the navigation bar that says naughty words, and you'll find the list. Here are the most popular ones, the first 7 not in the hit list 6. Not, don't, can't, won't, wouldn't, couldn't, should, are the main culprits, if you will, that litter our lexicographical landscape.
That's a really big $10 word.
Oh, yeah. Lexicographical just means word choice, words.
Sure.
And now here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. There are over 1 million words in the English language. Most people may be familiar with 3,000 to 5,000. If you're in a particular industry, like the web or internet, they have their own glossary of terms, if you will, or medical people have their own glossary of terms. When I say that most of us have a vocabulary of about 3,000 to 5,000 words, that's in general outside of those specific specialized areas. And the key here is, if you have a message that you want to convey to someone, just get rid of the naughty words. Now, naughty is spelled Knotty. For example, I know that you have some questions. I definitely want to get to those. If I may, I'd like to show this one real quick.
Absolutely.
This is fun. Okay, so we're going to hold this one up to the screen, and we're just going to take about 4 or 5 seconds of silence just so you can read it, and more than likely probably chuckle. Here you go. Really, who molests an alligator, please? Okay. In the state of Florida, you're going to pay a $500 fine if you feed or molest an alligator. However, based upon what I've shared with you today, based upon you started reading my book, and we're starting to have this conversation, what does that sign tell people to do?
Feed or molest alligators.
Exactly.
And it's kind of one of those, ooh, am I going to get caught? I mean, the $500 doesn't matter, because it's more like, well, what will happen?
Yeah.
What will happen if I feed or molest an alligator?
Yeah. In keeping with the alligator theme, we have another sign. This is from a good friend of mine down in Texas, who sent this sign. And it may be a little challenging to read all of the small print, so we'll go through it here pretty quickly. So here's the warning: be gator safe. That part of the sign is actually quite good, fantastic. They could have actually just used that part of the sign. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the rest of the sign. Are you ready? Now, take fast notes. So we want you, don't feed alligators, don't get too close to them, don't swim or wade where they are, don't let your pets near them, don't agitate or tease them, don't try to catch one, don't approach the alligator's nest. So here's what the sign says: feed them, get close to them, swim and wade with them, let your pets go near them, agitate and tease them, catch one, and approach the nest. Good luck with that. Let me know how that works out for you, okay?
Okay, so here's where, as a parent, and I homeschool my 2 children, and so in my mind, I see, you know, we live with my mom.
Okay.
We just moved in with her 6 months ago, and we're all sharing a house, and I can hear all of us saying, don't, all the time with my kids, and then wondering why we're being ineffective. So as a parent, this is really, I mean, huge, because
Yes,
you're training the next generation.
Yes.
So in the morning, I get up and I'll say to my kids, have you done your schoolwork? Mm-hmm. Remember to do, or I'll say, don't watch TV until your schoolwork is done and the TV's on.
Right.
So what are how can you empower parents? Like give us three catchphrases
Absolutely.
that we can just reprogram our kids' brains.
All right. So here's a couple of quick thoughts on that. You notice I've already mentioned a couple of other authors and books. There is so much talent on this planet that if you think you went to school and that's it, please expand your awareness, expand your horizon, and listen to some of the brilliant minds that are out there. Robert Fulghum, in his book, I Learned Everything I Need to Know in Life, I Learned in Kindergarten. If you've ever read that book, it's a list of things to do as a child. Play nice in the sandbox. Be courteous. Respect. Just the way he wrote the book is it tells you what you want your children or what you want to do. Right. So as a parent, if you say to your child, don't spill the milk, don't touch the hot stove, don't pull your cat's tail, don't plug your finger into an electric socket. Heidi, here's what children hear. They hear the word do, they have no idea what the word not means, and then they hear what you told them to do. So when we as parents say to our children, and I'll just do a collective general one, look, don't touch that. So as a parent,
doing that.
That. Hey, how about, you know what? Stop doing that. For example, I remember when I got my license, when I was just a couple months before my 18th birthday, I got my license from, and I lived in Massachusetts, and my mom is really the one that kind of instilled this passion for words, okay? Mm-hmm. And she was really good with telling us, my older brother, my younger sister, she had this way of telling us once, maybe twice, God forbid it ever went to the third time, you're in deep doo-doo, okay? So she told me when I got my license, she said, well, here's the way it works, Rob. If we tell you what time to come in, you're here by that time, or you may see the car again.
instead of won't.
You know, you might.
You might.
Well, look, it's a guy thing. I'll just admit, we push the envelope, okay? So I push the envelope. Growing up in New England, in the wintertime, my skates were on my feet more than my shoes and snow boots. I love to skate. I love playing hockey and skated on the weekend. I would get up at 6 a.m. and I'd come home at midnight, and the skates would be on all 18 hours.
Comfortable shoes.
Yeah, just the point is that, you know, whenever I was told, you know, to get in, I mean, I would press it, I would push it, I'd push it. And so she told me one night, she said, you know, if you come home again late, no dinner. I'm like, come on, Mom, are you kidding me? Are you really going to do that to me? There's no way you're going to do that to me. Yeah, next day I came home 2 minutes late. She said, went down and sit down at the kitchen table where we have our evening meal. She said, what are you doing here? Dinner? No. You are out. Guess how many times I was late again?
Well, feeding is just as important as skating.
Yeah.
So I bet zero.
Yeah. So part of our conversations, we had a little bit on this topic about children and parenting, was just before we started taping, and it's about being accountable and being consistent in the delivery of the message as a parent. So parents, please pay attention to this. If you will begin to look, if the only thing you heard on this entire message is as a parent is stop telling my children, don't. Tell them what you'd like them to do. Example. Here were the rules for me. If I wanted to go out and play on Saturday morning, I knew that I could go out the door as soon as I took care of 2 chores. My choice. If I mess around and do them later, I'm inside. Well, I had this thing as a kid growing up. I had this passion to be outside, playing baseball, playing football, doing the skating, the hockey, whatever. I'm a bit of a sports nerd as well as being a word nerd. And so if I knew this, very simple, I learned very quickly that if I was going to get the opportunity to go do those things, I had to accomplish the task. Very simple. So if you have children and you'd like them to do something, tell them what you'd like them to do. They'll pay attention, they will do it, or there will be consequences. And you have to be willing to follow through on giving what those consequences are. Look, I'm a little bit older than 40, and a couple years anyway. I'll just say, I'm a child of the 50s. And just a little side note, look, you know, I had a yardstick broken over my behind once because my mom got really ticked off because I really pushed the envelope and she said, I'm going to spank you. Guess what? She followed through on what she said. Now I healed. I'm okay. It's all right. Okay? The bottom line is...
But you did major in psychology.
I did major. That's true. The point is that, seriously, getting back, the thing about parenting, when we say to our children, like, don't touch the hot stove, they touch it. Don't forget your homework. Don't come in late. When children hear that message over and over and over again, quite candidly, quite frankly, it's like it's noise to them.
Yes.
And the world today is cluttered with way too much noise. So Remember the Ice is passionate about specificity, concise, direct. Tell me what you want me to do. So if you're a parent, think about this. Think of how much more your children will do that you'd like them to do by telling them and asking them and being accountable to tell them what you want to do. And
so remember your math.
Yeah.
Remember your math.
Yeah, remember your math. Remember to do this. Remember, take care of this. Or, and I hear these stories. I do some individual coaching with people, and individual coaching is just a fancy way to say you do counseling. Okay? So I remember one of my clients, one of their teenage children had an Xbox, and they just abused that Xbox, and they basically abused their parents because they abused them without paying any attention to what it is they wanted them to do. So they brought that scenario to me, and I said, so you'd like to get your teenage son to stop doing X, right? Here's what I would suggest. The next time they do X, and you wanted them to do something different, tell them stop, get eyeball to eyeball with them, and share something like this. Okay, so here's the deal. We made an agreement that when you take the car, you're home at 10 o'clock on the weeknights, 11:30 on the weekends. Is that correct?
Yes.
Great. You know that Xbox thing you like a whole lot? Would you like to ever see it again?
Sure.
Good. So here's the deal. Come in on time. You get no free rides. You get one shot.
Right.
I will be at the door to watch you come in on time.
I'm a little scared right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Are we clear? You know,
Yeah.
It's kind of like
It's kind of
like in A Few Good Men. Are we clear? Yeah. Are we clear? Yeah. Crystal. So you get very specific and say, here's the deal. Now, who has the responsibility of coming in on time?
The child.
Exactly. Who has the responsibility of doling out the accountability response?
The parent.
Exactly. So, pull up your britches and,
It's time to be a parent.
It's time to be a parent, and
Yeah.
it's time to, see if you can pass muster and do it. And just do it. Trust me, in the long run, you'll be so happy, and your child will appreciate, because what you're demonstrating to them is a really good parenting behavior for when they have their children in the future. Be accountable.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's shift a little bit.
Sure.
So when we talk about business owners, and something that business owners struggle with, and I work with business owners all the time that are struggling with productivity.
Okay.
And so, and really, I'm looking at all of your examples, your Gator example, and I'm thinking, gosh, you know what? The thoughts running through their head is, in my business, okay, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. So, what productivity tool do you use in order to get things done and move forward when your thoughts are cycling through negativity?
Well, we've spent quite a bit of time talking about the word "don't," and it's one of the most prevalent and most abused words of the naughty words, Heidi. And so the key here is understand that the answer is already in the word.
Do.
Right.
Do this. Do this. Do this.
Here's a very quick example. One of the things that I do is I work with human resource managers and help them write their policy manuals. Mm-hmm. Well, I had a client down in Las Vegas, and they had a policy manual that took 3.5 pages to say no drugs allowed on the premises.
Oh my.
Now, the reason it took 3.5 pages is they did their best to come up with every scenario. Don't bring drugs on Monday through Friday. Don't have drugs in your left front pocket. Don't have drugs in your trunk. Don't have illegal drugs. I said, okay, so here's what I offered them. Basically about 3 lines. The first point, unless it's a prescription, no drugs are allowed on the premises whatsoever. Period. Point number 2, any questions? See number 1.
I would add random drug tests.
Oh, and absolutely, yeah, and then after that, oh, by the way, you want to push the envelope? You can be drug tested at any moment, anytime. Have at it. Mm-hmm. Have at it. So what it does again is it puts the accountability behavior back on the individual.
Yes.
Seriously, you're telling me you need 3.5 pages? If you've got 1,000 employees, you just wasted a tree.
And they probably don't read it anyway.
No, most people will skip right over it.
Yes.
Okay, so. Yeah. The key is, whenever I get the opportunity to interview, and I really am grateful to have this opportunity with you today, Heidi, is my goal and objective whenever I talk to people is to help them raise their awareness. So think of it's kind of like thinking of, remember My Favorite Martian, that old TV program, he had his antenna. So I want you to raise your antenna. I want you to raise your awareness about word choice. You'll find it in the most interesting places. For example, in Phoenix, at the intersection of Indian School Road, 31st Avenue, and Grand Avenue. You know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Is that a pretty busy intersection?
It's very busy, yes.
Okay. Here is the verbiage off of the billboard that was on top of a business on the northeast corner of that intersection. So vehicles heading east on Indian School and coming down on Grand would see it almost head on, all right? Here's the word choice on that billboard.
Wow.
Guess which intersection in Phoenix had the highest rate of T-bone crashes?
That one. Wow.
Heading east. Why? Because what is this sign telling you to do?
Run red.
So
Run
if
red.
you're making a billboard about safety and you're the traffic person, what would you like that sign to tell people to do when they see a red light?
Stop on red.
Wow. Give her a hand.
Yay!
Well done. That is, see how simple that is?
Mm-hmm.
So the awareness is, what I did in telling you that story was, I raised your awareness about word choice.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing. I'm raising your awareness. Now, here's another very quick example. How many of us have email?
Yes.
How many of us get email from somebody that has in that message, don't whatever, or maybe in a signature at the end? On that trip I told you about when I went to Europe, one of my hosts in Belgium, a brilliant software designer named Erwin de Laat. Erwin is a very nice gentleman from Mechelen, Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of my talk, I asked if people had any questions. Let me jump back just a quick little bit. I made a suggestion of a couple of homework assignments, and I would recommend that all of you do this as well. And it's very simple to do. The first one, get your favorite pad of paper, grab an adult beverage, maybe some popcorn, watch your television, and I want you to watch one of these 3 channels.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with your political persuasion or anything. It has to do only with word choice.
Gotcha.
I want you to watch either CNN News, Fox News, or MSNBC. For 60 minutes, pay specific attention to the words that you see on the screen and hear in the content of the program as well as the advertisement. Write down the naughty words on the left-hand side of the page and just start doing check marks. Get your favorite adult beverage and get that popcorn and get at it. The record for me is 367 naughty words in a 60-minute broadcast of CNN News. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 6 words a minute.
Wow. Wow.
367. Now,
Wow.
Please understand, I've been doing this for over 200,000 hours. I'm trained how to do this. I hear them, I see them, and I even understand some of the innuendos that are coming in those. So that's one homework assignment. Here's the second one. Gosh, did I forget what the second one was? No, I'm teasing.
Don't forget.
Okay, so here was the second one. I asked the audience in Mechelen, Belgium, I said, check your email and see if you have something like this at the bottom of your email. You know, in a signature where people will put their name, their credentials, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll put a little message like, hey, you know, if you got any questions, don't hesitate to call.
Don't hesitate.
So my friend Erwin's in the back of the room and he's going, oh my gosh. And I said, Erwin, are you okay? And he said, oh my gosh. He said, you just called me out. I said, what do you mean? I said, that's what I have on my email signature. Well, one of my great friends and mentors is Dr. Ivan Meisner, the founder of Business Network International. And Ivan uses a great question. This is a really productive tool to use if you're an owner of a business or in a management position and you're talking with your staff. Ask them this question when they tell you what they've done, and what they've done has been a little bit less than what you had hoped that they would have accomplished. Here's his question. I love it. Thank you, Ivan. And he says, well, and I looked at Erwin and I said, well, Erwin, based on results, how's that working out for you? The question is, based on results, how is that working? Okay, it's a great, very powerful question. So when I asked Erwin that, Erwin, how's that working out for you? You know what his comeback was? Nobody calls. Now the good news is that my travels around Europe took me back through Mechelen, Belgium 2 weeks later. Mm-hmm. And I met Erwin at the train station. And one of the things I love about the European people is when they come across something that's really profound, mm-hmm. it's like they want to share it with as many people as they can. And it's an honor for them to do it. So when I met Erwin at the train station in Mechelen, Belgium, he was there with his wife and his 7 children all lined up. I thought I was looking at the Von Trapp family and Sound of Music. Okay? And it was like this, you know, and I was, you know, meeting up with him. He had some funds for me from the event that we had done, and we had arranged, you know, meeting. And And he looked at me and he said, Bob, he said, I have such good news. I'm so happy. I just wanted you to meet my family. And it was like, family, this is the man that told me this. It was just an honor for me.
That's cool.
And so anyway, he said, Bob, after 2 weeks ago when you told me about the email thing, I went home that night immediately and I changed it to, and I said, what did you change it to? And he said, I changed it to, if you have any questions, please give me a call. I said, well, based on results, thank you, Ivan, based on results, how's that working out for you? He said, I'm getting 6 to 7, sometimes 8 calls a day.
Wow. Wow.
A day. Ladies and gentlemen, Heidi, look, bottom line is this. These naughty words are there.
Mm-hmm.
The lexicographical landscape is littered with them. They're virtually everywhere. They're in coloring books for children.
Don't play with guns.
Seriously, this is a safety book for children about guns. Are you serious?
Wow.
Okay. Or how about this? This one is on the outside of a police station in Huntsville, Texas.
That's everywhere. That's
really
everywhere.
Okay. Or
my favorite.
Yeah. So see if you can figure out what you're supposed to do.
How many calls to action do you have there? One way, do not enter, exit only.
Yeah.
Ah!
Now, this sign was on the outside of a building I would go to on a weekly basis for my BNI meeting on Thursday mornings up in Anchorage, Alaska. And this was on the outside of the building, and I would get there early to watch people enter because the sign says, do enter.
Yeah.
What it was Heidi, it was you come off Spinard Road, which is out on the west side of the city of Anchorage, and you take a little right-hand turn, come down a hill, and this was on the outside of the building, asking you to go around the building because it was a one-way little trip around the building. You could still come and park there. They just wanted you to drive around the building. I would sit there 60 to 70% of the time. People would just turn in.
Wow.
Because what we pay attention to, we have a tendency to pay attention to this word. However, it's meaningless.
Right.
We'd be better off to realize that word, those 3 letters juxtaposed in that sequence, we'd be better off just cutting them out of the dictionary and cutting them out of our mind.
Because you think about it, even in the dictionary, I wouldn't even know how to explain that. Not. How would you define the word not anyway?
It's
without using.
Yeah.
It means don't. It means you know. So.
It's if you think about it, you are incapable of having a word picture to go with not. The pictures that you do have go with the word do, because you understand do is a verb, and it's action. About taking action on something, and then the word that follows the do is the action that we want. So in this sign,
do enter.
Do enter. So if we really want people to go around, what they needed to do was eradicate and eliminate this. Hey, look, this is a one-way street and it's exit only. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, people stop at stop signs. Well,
amazing.
Stop.
Can you imagine if it said,
stop.
What do you think would happen if it said don't go?
Oh, that's what everybody would do. They would just go right
exactly.
through it. Yeah.
That's exactly what would happen. So language, words are symbols for signs that we understand. It is incredibly important to stop and think about what you want to say. Some of you that are listening to this broadcast right now, you know that when you get home tonight, you're going to have some things that you want to talk to your spouse about, or you want to talk to your children about. Okay? We already know you probably have a list of them. Okay? Can you imagine actually going home with a don't list? Do you know people actually do that?
Don't.
People actually make lists of
don't eat sugar. Don't eat.
So let's suppose that you brought up a subject that's very pertinent one for many, many people. Look, we got a situation in this country of America. It's a great country, but many people are overweight. Let's just call it what it is. They're fat.
Yep.
Okay? And so here's the deal. The only person who's in control of that is guess who? Us. Wow, we're in control of that. So here's what we would want to do about it. Would you want? Well, I have a little. I love words. I'm passionate about words. If you lost your keys, what would be one of the first things you'd want to do?
Look for them.
You'd want to find them. Look for them.
Yeah.
If you lost weight, why would you want to look for that weight?
Because you lost it.
Because you see, when we think of the word lost, Heidi, what do we think? Oh, I got to do, what's the action? I got to go find it. So one of the things that I talk about, I have this thing for making a resolution in the year. I only do one.
One resolution.
One resolution. I resolve this. Okay? This year's resolution had 3 parts. I resolved to put $3 a day into an envelope. I resolved to read 30 minutes in a book. And I resolved to do the plank exercise 3 minutes a day.
Okay.
I've been successful every day.
Because
Very
you
simple.
resolved to do it.
I resolved to do it. Now, how many people do you think resolve, usually in the first, week of a year, resolve, this is the year I'm losing 20 pounds, I'm losing this weight, I'm losing this stuff. And by the time February rolls around, 90% of the gym memberships are inactive.
Yes.
Most of the people who've started a diet, why would you start a diet? I love, Richard Simmons used to talk about the first 3 letters of the word diet are die.
It's a 4-letter word.
Yeah. How about I change your eating habits? Oh, there's an idea.
What if you were to put signs in your kitchen that say, eat vegetables, eat fruits?
You would be more inclined to do those things.
You see the word,
yeah,
the
and
picture.
And in addition to that, imagine this whole concept about, and I love to describe it, weight loss or weight reduction this way. Okay, I'm talking to you right now about reducing your gravitational pull on the earth.
Okay.
Make a goal to release 8 ounces a day.
Release.
Because if you release them, it's almost like an epiphany. It's like, bye, see ya.
Let it go. There's a
I'm
song
releasing
about that.
them. Yeah. Just let it go. Release them. And oh, by the way, when we went through a time, I remember when I got up to 237 pounds and I went, yikes. Well, that's more gravitational pull than I've ever had on the earth. And you know what? I'm unhappy about it. Now, did I go run to somebody else or expect a pill? No, I took action. So I made changes. And I talked to myself about the changes that I would make. Well, now I'm down to 206. And I'm pretty happy about that. And now I have a goal to extend a little bit more, to get beneath that 200-pound threshold. And I'm looking forward to that. The key is that I understand that did I gain those those upwards to 35 pounds like overnight? The answer is no.
No.
Am I going to lose them? Am I going to lose them? No.
Then you'll just find
because
them.
then I'll go find them.
Yeah.
If I make a concerted effort and a conscious decision, the word decision, the Latin root means to cut away from. When you decide something, you cut away from an old behavior.
Okay.
When on July the 23rd, 1991, after I came back from that convenience store, I walked into my apartment, I grabbed the scissors, grabbed the dictionary, cut the words out of the dictionary, they lay on the carpet floor, stood up, drew a line in the carpet like drawing a line in the sand. I made a decision, ladies and gentlemen. I decided to no longer use those words ever again. By Friday of that week, I had already eradicated, eliminated, extricated, what have you. I'd already stopped using over 95 to 98% of those words.
Wow.
Because I made a decision. I was all in. I'm all in.
So what is the one word that you wish everyone would stop using?
Oh, that word is should. People spend way too much time shoulding on themselves and others, and they just need to quit. Okay, usually that gets a laugh. Okay, good. I can hear you.
Yeah, no,
People do it constantly, and there's the spoken should, and there's the implied should. When you get further along in my book, you'll read a story about or an understanding about the word should. Eliminate the shoulds and the other and shoulds and absolutes. There's a story in there. One of my favorite terms from that Dr. Maltzby taught us in rational behavior therapy is a non sequitur. Those of you that are in relationships, Let us know if this resonates with you. Well, if you loved me, you'd cook for me.
Yeah.
Well, if you loved me, you'd bring me flowers every Friday. See, the implication of that statement is to take two things that are unrelated, bring them together, and suggest that one is based on the response of the other. That's a non sequitur, and it's really meaningless. And if you think about it, most unhealthy discussions between adults, or in this case, spouses, are laced with non sequiturs. They really are.
And then it spirals into the other person saying, I'm not good enough. I can see that.
And with respect to the word should, it is, in my opinion, I've spent many hundreds and thousands of hours studying this. In my opinion, should is the worst word. We spend so much time thinking about it. I just watched the World Cup match before coming over here, and the United States is moving on to the round of 16, the knockout round. And I can guarantee you, if you listen to anyone analyze that game, in 5 minutes, there'll be 25 shoulds.
I bet.
Should have done this, should have done that. That pass should have been over here. The cross should have been higher. Look, stop. There are, a quick comment about the word should. There are two kinds of should in the world. Two shoulds. Okay? One of them is scientific, and the other one is self-righteous. So here's what the scientific should is. I'm going to say this a couple times because you're going to go,
oh,
yeah. Okay, so here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Everything in life is exactly as it should be right now because it is. Now you chew on that for a moment.
Yes.
Now, if you've just won the Powerball lottery last night, you're feeling pretty doggone good, and you're saying, you're cotton picking right. It should be that way because I won. If you spent the last dime or the last $2 in your life on a ticket and you lost, you are probably saying, well, they should have picked different numbers. Sorry, they picked the numbers they did. Or if you go into, you go into to your work and you're hoping that something works, goes in a particular way and it goes different, and you go, wow, that should have been different. No, ladies and gentlemen, everything in life, it is what it is. Now, deal with it. Okay, so here's the self-righteous should. Well, yeah, but it's supposed to go according to me. Fritz Perls, who was a wonderful psychotherapist back in the 60s, founded Gestalt therapy. He was a brilliant man. For those of you that remember back in the 60s, you remember there was a poster.
I don't remember. I wasn't born yet.
So you're saying you have no recollection of that. I understand.
Well, I was listening to Joan Baez on Saturday, so if you can live vicariously through folk music, then sure.
Well, Fritz, and I'm going to paraphrase this poster. It was a very, very famous poster back in the day, and it went something like this. Here's the gist. Look, I'm in this world. I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, and you're not in this world to live up to mine. I am me, and you are you, and if by chance we get together, great. If not, it can't be helped. Now, please understand that those are his words, and there are some examples of naughty language. However, for the self-righteous should, here's the first one was called the Pearl's Prayer, and here's the Pearl's Perversion. Look, I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, but you, by goodness, are in this world to live up to mine. Mm-hmm. So you better get on the stick and do that. If not, see ya.
I can see that.
Can you see that happening with the people?
Absolutely.
So the implied should and this perversion of should.
She should have done this.
Oh, really?
She should have done that.
Of course.
He should have done that. Yeah. We
always
portray what other people should do.
So here's the question. When I work with my coaching clients, and we get involved and engaged in this concept of should, 99.9% of the time, their relationship is going to come into play. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to start sharing some of those, well, yeah, but he should have done. I said, really? Let me ask you a question. What did he do? Well, he did the opposite of what I wanted. Well, guess what? That's what he should have done, because that's what he did. Now, here's the question. Would you have preferred that he do something else? Or, talk to the man, would you prefer that she had done something else? Great. Articulate that specifically clearly, concisely. Example. In my book, one of the examples we use is, well, if you love me, you bring me flowers every Friday. So the gentleman in the story, he said, if I do that, it loses for me the spontaneity and the specialness of me coming home with flowers at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So after he conveyed that to her, and all of the stories in my books, Heidi, they're all real. The names have been changed, but everything that's in my books are real situations. These are real
people
real people doing this. And so this particular couple, one of the things that we helped them with was to be specific, stop and think. Look, take a breath. If you're in a conversation, here's a little sidebar. If you're in a conversation that is escalating in volume, stop and breathe. Just stop.
Just stop.
Stop, take a breath, and ask yourself, is it really the end of the world? Is everything going to stop right now? That's yet to happen. Okay? That's never happened. So stop and think, pay attention to your words, and realize that everything in life is exactly as it should be because that's the way it is. And the more you are capable of accepting the reality that it is what it is, and I can hear somebody in the audience saying, yeah, Bob, what happened to the phrase, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder? Well, that's what we call subjective opinion. Some things are very factual. They're called laws, like law of attraction, law of gravity. If you believe that the law of gravity is a hoax, do this. Go out and climb 100 feet on the top of a building somewhere, jump off and see if you go up.
I think gravity's pretty set in stone.
I think gravity's pretty much there. You know what? I'm buying gravity.
Yes.
We agree on that?
We're totally on the same page.
All right. So when you're in situations when you understand that there can be alternative ways to look at things, which actually leads to chapter 8 of my book, it's just called Circling the Situation. Now, I know that you just got it recently. Have you been able to get that far yet?
No, not
Okay. So you're still working. Okay. Here's a concept. Think about this. Whenever you find yourself in a self-described problem, one of the first things that I'd like you to do is to stop using the phrase problem. Because no problem. Because actually, there is no problem. It's a situation. So when you do you just get aggravated when you asking somebody something? Oh yeah, no problem, we got that.
Actually, what really aggravates me, yes, that does, but what really aggravates me is when I'm saying, hey, let's do this, and the immediate phrase is, well, the problem is, and so if I'm working with someone that automatically is looking for all the reasons it won't work, then it deflates me.
Absolutely.
Deflates the idea, deflates the momentum.
Sure.
Yeah.
That deflates momentum. And one other quick comment that I wanted to make about the word should. Ask yourself this question, okay? And really think about this. Have you ever been truly 100% passionately inspired by telling yourself you should have done something?
No.
Or listening to anybody else tell you should have done something?
No.
That is, in fact, the one and only true correct answer to that question. The answer is no.
No.
No one on the planet could look me square in the eyeball with conviction and say, oh, yeah, well, I have. Yeah, really? I want to know what it was. Okay?
Well, I'm processing. So tell us about your programs that you have on Wisdom Window and how people can learn more from you.
Sure.
Because I'm intrigued. And as I mentioned, as a homeschool mom, I'm sitting here thinking, I need to memorize these words and get them out of my head. I need to cut them out.
Well, as someone who homeschools, and I have tremendous, I think that's a tremendous skill and a tremendous commitment to your children. And I congratulate you on that. Maybe something we could do is work together on creating a little bit of an RTI curriculum for homeschool.
Perfect.
That could be something. And
awesome.
We could offer it on Wisdom Window.
Awesome. Yeah.
My windows are, a personal on the personal development side, the Wisdom Window, and it's very, 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 very economical. It's $19.95, and you're going to get the digital copy of my book. You're going to get a free Naughty Words in Action book. You're going to learn about the Naughty Word Calculator, which is a tool on my website, www.remembertheice.com, that helps you to know where the words are. So imagine if there was a tool that you could cut and paste, you could highlight and copy and drop into a little box and hit submit, and that little box would then calculate how many words were in your document, how many naughty words were in your document, how many sentences, and how many multiple word sentences had naughty words in them, and it would give you a score on a grading system. And then you could click down below that where it says click or expand, and when you click on that, it'll highlight the naughty words in red. Now, how cool would it be to have something like that?
That would be really powerful for entrepreneurs in their email correspondence, in their autoresponders, to have that tool.
That tool is available in my personal development window here on Wisdom Window.
Perfect.
It's one of the free things that you can get. And then there's also it's either 5 or 6 videos. There's a free video about the story behind Remember the Ice, and then some other videos and the copy of my book. And then on the business side, you can get my second book, which is Exceptional Care for Your Valued Client. So here's a simple shift in word choice. If you ask the general public what their impression is of customer service on a general level, it's the general response that I get from most people is an unflattering word. It's unflattering. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
It begins with S and ends with uck.
Gotcha.
Okay. And that's really sad, because one of the things that most businesses really take pride in is they think they're providing great customer service.
Yes.
Well, here's something that my co-author and I did in the second book, Exceptional Care for Your Valued Client. So I want you to imagine you're calling a company, and why do you think most people call a company to get to a customer service representative? Are they happy?
They need help. No, they're not happy.
They're probably unhappy, or they want some assistance with something. Okay, and they would certainly appreciate speaking with someone who understands their language, and both can understand each other pretty readily. Okay, great. So if they're calling to get help, and what they get is what some people describe as a runaround, are they excited about it? No. Our book, Exceptional Care for Your Valued Client, looks at the basic fundamentals of empowering word choice and takes the concepts of Remember the Ice and applies it to giving something different to our valued clients. And you know what that department would be called? The Exceptional Care Department. So imagine calling a company, whether it's a small company, 2 or 3 people, or you're calling a Fortune 500 or one of the biggest companies in the world. And imagine being transferred. So here's the call when you come in. Well, hi. Well, and you've already identified yourself, gone into the system and said, well, hello, Ms. Todd, may I call you? Great, I'm so glad that you called us today. Welcome to our Exceptional Care Department. What can I do for you today?
I would be excited. I would feel like, ooh,
yeah,
there's something that they can do.
Well, yeah. Well, oh my gosh. Can you tell me what your story? What has happened? And it's my objective today to provide exceptional care to you and to get this situation taken care of today.
Absolutely.
Can you help me out? Can you help me out by giving me the details right now? Now I can hear some of the people who run call centers, and I do work with call centers, and hear some people, that look, come on, hey, it's all about time, tick tock, tick tock. All right.
Hitting your numbers.
Oh yeah, numbers schmumbers. Okay, so here you go. When I lived in Ruston, Louisiana, and I worked for a local telecommunications company, it was the largest provider of cellular service in that area, and at the time it was called CenturyTel, and then it was bought by Alltel, and now it's I think it's part of CenturyLink. Anyway, this was back in the late 90s, and as I worked for that company, I went in. I love sales. Sales is, look, life is sales. Okay. And for those of you who say, oh, I hate sales, look, are you married? Okay, good. Do you have children? Good. You understand sales. Sales is what we do constantly. And I love it. I love the opportunity to work with people to find out what their need is and to help them receive what it is that they need and what they want to accomplish, and do it in such a way that they feel fantastic about what I'm offering, and they see themselves feeling enhanced by using it. Mm. Larry Wilson, Spencer Johnson, the book, The 1 Minute Salesperson. People buy things because of how they perceive themselves using them. So if you're stuck in features and benefits, get out of there. Find out what they want and give it to them. So in 38 months of working for CenturyTel in Ruston, Louisiana, I was the top salesperson 33 out of 38 months.
I believe it.
The only reason that I was number 2 for the other 5 months was because on the last day of the month, one of my colleagues sold 1 to 2 more phones than I did on the last day. Here's an interesting sidelight to that. I had a couple of my colleagues that were disgruntled because I seemed to take a little bit more time with each one of my customers than they did. And they just got frustrated. How does he get the more sales? He's taking more time. He's spending more time with them. What's going on? And especially when it would get busy, sometimes there'd be people waiting a step. So I actually got called into the manager's office. Oh my goodness. And she said to me, she looked at me and she said, well, Bob, I actually got a complaint that you're spending way too much time with your customers when we're busy. And I just looked at her name was Nancy, and I said, well, Nancy, based on results, what would you like me to do? She looked at me and she said, keep doing what you're doing.
I remember that. Based on results.
Yeah, based on results. How's that working out for you? So ask yourself this question. Each time that you wrap yourself up in a shroud of should, or you're knocking yourself in the head with a don't hammer, or a can't hammer, or a couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't hammer, stop doing that. Just stop. Trust me on this one. Look, you just met me today. Trust me on this one. Stop that. Stop and think, what would I like to have happen? Now, we started off with a story in Phoenix, Arizona on July the 23rd, 1991 at 10:07. It was a Tuesday. It was 110 in the shade. I walked into that store with one thing in mind, to ask Rick, the manager, a very important question. How are your ice sales? He said they were lousy. I said, I can help you. And I asked, if I could help you, would you like that? Well, sure. Can you think of someone that would dislike being helped about something? Come on. Everybody likes to be helped.
Sure.
So he immediately said yes. So what I did was I shifted his paradigm on word choice. He was unaware of it at the time. He found out a month later. He was experiencing it over that period of time because his ice sales shot up 500%. And people stopped going down to the gas station. After they bought the beverages at his place, they stopped going down to AM/PM and getting their ice there. They bought it from his place. And it was the simple shift of 2 words from don't forget to remember. Or technically, don't is a contraction made up of 2 words, and I understand that. So the point is this. By eradicating and eliminating the not, I untied the knot in the message. And so he was able, by having this message, remember the ice, his sales went up dramatically. My friend Cornelius, in his yacht company, the Sailing Gullet Yachts, tripled his business in a down economy. Really?
Remember to book early.
Remember to book early. What else do you need? I mean, how many different examples do I need to give you? The bottom line is this. If you will pay attention to word choice, if you will do the exercise of being aware, raise your awareness of naughty language, and you will be amazed at the impact it has on your life.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
This has just been fantastic. And I can think of all sorts of groups that I want to post this in and say, remember to watch this.
Look, you can get it to my website, remembertheice.com. I am a coach. I am a speaker, an author, a word nerd. My product, if you will, is applicable to people with 2 characteristics: a body temperature of 98.6 or thereabouts, and the ability to fog a mirror. And I realize that's a pretty broad statement. The bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, if you speak a language, and I've worked with translators, if you speak a language, I can assist you. I do trainings, I do keynote talks, and they're fun keynote talks. My audiences laugh. I work with individuals in the coaching. I work with businesses to help them. I worked with a title company up in Alaska, Alaska USA Title. They had me come in. We did a 10-week program. Their titles, the number of closings that they did shot up like 300%. I've worked with mortgage companies, worked with financial advisors. I can work with virtually anyone who has a message and they would like to have it be enhanced. That's what I'm good at. I'm a word nerd. Bob Nicoll with Remember the Ice. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for coming in and for taking time out of your day. I know you are a very busy person. This has just been so enlightening, and I'm really excited to go home and say remember a lot to my children instead of don't. So thank you so much for joining us today, and please check out Bob Nicoll on Wisdom Window, and we'll see you next time.